Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. We got some breaking news to cover. The Raiders signed not one, not two, but 3 players today. Happy Monday. We've been waiting for some moves to go down. And honestly, I'm still kind of waiting for that big-time news to end up happening. But my job here is to keep you up to date, whether it's a minor move, whether it's a big-time move, every move. That's how you get that commitment to excellence. And if you love the Raiders and you have commitment to excellence, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications right now. So coming up here on today's show, I am going to tell you, out of all 3 moves, which one is my favorite? The Raiders, they go out, you bring in Jordan Willis, defensive lineman. You sign Jaquan Johnson. But then the Raiders also signed O.J. Howard, and if you watched my video earlier today, I said there's a really good chance that the Raiders end up bringing him in because of all the connections. So the report was Howard was visiting the Raiders today, and I'm going to guess that that visit ended up going, well, pretty good. So the Raiders, they traded away Darren Waller, and they still need tight end depth, even with the addition of Howard. This team still needs to be able to go out and figure out who is going to be their true number 1 tight end, because I don't think that it's Howard. He did sign a deal. I don't have the contract details yet. It is a 1-year deal, though, so it's not going to be too much money. But why exactly do the Raiders do this? He's a good blocker, run, pass blocker. Yeah, he's battled some injuries, but over the past 2 seasons, I would say has been the most healthy he's been. And just because the Raiders ended up making this move, that doesn't mean that this is going to be the only tight end move. With how deep this year's draft class is, this is screaming to me the Raiders are going to add a tight end early in the draft, at least one of their top 70 picks overall. As it stands right now, though, Howard is the top tight end on this depth chart. He's better than Jesper Horsted in terms of overall play, though Horsted's kind of sneaky in terms of his reception game. Cole Fotheringham, and then Foss-Moreau is a free agent, and from everything that I understand, his visit with New Orleans went really well. I believe that's where he ultimately ends up signing. So right now with the Raiders, you got 3 tight ends, and you have to figure out a way to get some extra players there for this offense, because I know for a fact the tight end position is going to be one that's heavily used here. It's going to be one that the Raiders use quite a bit. The biggest reason, though, why I think Howard ended up signing with this team, he's got Patriots connections. How? He signed with the Houston Texans last season. Dave Ziegler's best friend in the NFL. Nick Caserio, general manager of the Houston Texans. So you have that one. You have that one. I think that's why O.J. Howard ultimately is a Raider. So now it's time to get your red pens out. Grade the signing of O.J. Howard. Give me an A, B, C, D, or an F. And you know what? This is the most notable move in terms of name recognition, I would say, on today's show. So we're going to make this the pinned comment. Go down, grade it right now. Howard to the Raiders. What grade? I'm going to give it a C+ grade. It's a good move for the Raiders based on what they need. It also puts you in a spot in the draft that now you don't have to take a tight end super early. You still have to take one, I think, in your first 3 or 4 picks, but you don't have to get crazy. And luckily, this year's tight end class is really freaking deep, man. I mean, Michael Mayer, you could see 2, maybe 3 guys going around one. To me, though, the only guy that's a lock is Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. But then you got Darnell Washington. He's a sneaky guy on day 2. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, even Zach Kuntz, all sneaky names to be looking at on day 2. And if some of these guys, like if Kuntz ends up falling to the 4th round, I'm really going to like him a lot. He's 6'8", he's 250. Lots and lots of depth. I was going to say depth and deep all at the same one. Lots of depth at the tight end position. Now, if you love the NFL draft, I don't want you to miss out. Our Chat Sports channel, we have close to 3,000 subs on our draft-only channel. And if you're a big-time draft guy, this is where you got to go. Go to youtube.com/chatnfl. Link's going to be available for you guys in the comments and in the description of today's video. So we talked about O.J. Howard. Now it's time to move on to another name, and maybe another reason why the Raiders brought in Howard. Yeah, I mean, he played with Tom Brady. McDaniel's got a good relationship with Tom Brady, after all. Let's talk about Jordan Willis. And depending on what type of defense the Raiders want to run is where exactly Willis fits. I've seen him being reported as defensive end. I've seen him being reported as a defensive tackle. To me, on this Raiders team, he's the defensive end. He's not big enough to play DT. If you throw him in as a DT, like, you could look at this as like your Cleveland Furl replacement. He might be able to play outside. He might be able to play inside. But one of the biggest reasons why I'll say that he had the most success with San Francisco is because, the San Francisco 49ers defense was pretty damn good last season. 12 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Only has started 2 games in his entire career, but now you're with this Raiders defensive group, and he's probably the 4th best guy on this list behind Crosby, Chandler Jones, Malcolm Kuntz. I know a lot of people were asking, all right, well, what about a Deshaun Bauer? You could honestly look at Jordan Willis and Deshaun Bauer in a very similar light. Bauer, though, is a free agent. Over the past 4 seasons for Willis, in 2022, played in 9 games. In 2021, 10 games, 15 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks, plus a forced fumble. In 2020, 2.5 sacks. In 2019, he has experience playing with the San Francisco 49ers, a defense that has been a rather successful defense, but it's that 6'4", 270, long arms, kind of lanky guy who can play multiple positions, which is why I believe is one of the biggest reasons why the Raiders decided to end up bringing him in. And if you were to ask me, Mitch, well, what was your grade B, or what would be a reaction to the Raiders adding Willis? I do think it's a really good question. To me, this is more of just a depth move. You need help on that defensive line. I still think that the Raiders need to address their defensive line a lot better. This organization has gone rather cheap compared to some of the other NFL teams, and some people are like, well, they want to go cheap. When you're 6-11 to me, and you had the amount of money that the Raiders do, I wanted to see a little bit more urgency. But with all the moves that they have made so far in free agency, either they're being drastically cheap or this is a true rebuild. And sometimes hearing a rebuild hurts to hear that. But at the end of the day, if you want to build in the draft like this Raiders team wants to, I think that's ultimately where they want to go. All right, y'all. So what is your one-word reaction to the Raiders signing Jordan Willis? My one word is depth. That's me being as nice to you as I can. It's a depth move. I promised myself that I would be a happier individual, that I would talk better, I guess, about a lot of these Raiders moves and always look at it glass half full. That's what I'm really trying to do with y'all. This move is simply depth. So we talked about O.J. Howard. We talked about Jordan Willis. The Raiders, though, they also went out and they signed a safety, and his name is Jaquan Johnson. I'll admit, when I saw Raiders sign, I just saw Jay Johnson, my heart stopped. I was like, here we go. We're getting John Johnson. Well, unfortunately, you didn't get John Johnson, and I also think that they ended up bringing in the wrong Bill safety as well, Jaquan. But let's not get it twisted here. This is another depth move. He's probably the 4th or 5th best safety you got on the roster. It's a 1-year deal. He has spent the last 4 seasons with the Buffalo Bills, so maybe McDaniels and Ziegler, they saw him a lot in the AFC East. But the thing that he is going to be able to do for this team, which is obviously very important. A lot of times you got to have a great offense, you got to have a great defense. There's no secrets there. But if you want to take that next step and you want to be that Super Bowl caliber team, you got to win in all 3 phases. Jaquan Johnson is actually a really, really good special teams player. He's going to be somebody who you can count on in those situations where the Raiders, they don't have Matt Collins this season. Matt Collins was their top gunner. He's now with the Atlanta Falcons. So, yes, he's a worrisome dude to have on the field in defensive situations. But in terms of special teams, he's a good special teams guy, and that's why he's going to end up making this team. Think of him as almost like, I'm going to say like a lesser version of Roderick Teamer. And that's kind of the way I would look at it. If you want to be able to interact with me on Twitter and on Instagram, it's at MitchellRenz365. My plan today was to go live on Locals, but depending on how crazy this show gets, we got 2,100 people watching live. Locals, I don't know, man. I've been trying to get to you guys as much as I can, but these YouTube shows have been getting crazy. So the 3 moves that the Raiders made today. What's the best move? What's your favorite one out of them all? Is it the O.J. Howard move? Is it the Jaquan Johnson move? Or is it the Jordan Willis move? For me personally, the way that I would rank them, it would be O.J. Howard is number 1. That's more based on the name value. Number 2 is Jaquan Johnson because of the value that he's going to be able to provide in special teams. And then I would say it's Jordan Willis. Las Vegas still needs to really upgrade on that defensive side of the football, because I would say the only two positions that this team has upgraded at this entire offseason has been wide receiver. Room's gotten better. And then I'd also say your strong safety position has gotten better. Besides that, not a lot of great upgrades. You saved a lot of money moving from Jimmy G, or moving from Derek Carr to Jimmy G. The nation still needs some moves that gives us some confidence going into next season.